I turned 18 at the exact moment the clock struck 12. But instead of cake and candles, my parents handed me an eviction notice wrapped in a birthday card that read, "Time to grow up." The ink was still wet from Mom's furious scrawl, and Dad just stood there, arms crossed like he was guarding Fort Knox from a toddler tantrum. I didn't scream, didn't beg, hell, I didn't even blink, because in that split second, I realized the real gift they'd given me was the freedom to burn their empire down from the outside. It started 6 months earlier, back when life in our cookie-cutter McMansion in suburban Phoenix felt like the American dream on steroids: pool parties, Tesla in the driveway, and Dad's consulting firm raking in enough to make the neighbors whisper about old money. But whispers turn to screams when the feds knock. And that's exactly what happened the week before my birthday.
See,
Dad wasn't just a slick sales guy peddling real estate seminars. He was running a Ponzi scheme that would have made Bernie Madoff blush, siphoning Grandma's retirement funds and church bingo pots into offshore accounts masked as investment opportunities. Mom knew every dirty detail. She balanced the books, forged the signatures, even charmed the suckers at wine tastings with her PDA smile. And me? I was the perfect cover. At 16, they dragged me into it, making me the intern who stamped approvals and answered panicked calls from investors with scripted lies. "Everything's fine, Mr. Hargrove. Dad's got it handled. It was my idea, stupidly, to tweak the ledgers when the first audit flags popped up. Nothing major, just shuffling numbers to buy time. But when the IRS circled like vultures, they pinned it all on me. Our little girl's just confused," Mom sobbed to the lawyer, while Dad nodded solemnly. "Teenage mistake. We'll get her counseling." Counseling? For cooking their books? By my birthday, the plea deal was in motion. I'd take the fall as a misguided juvenile delinquent, community service and a sealed record, while they walked with slaps on the wrist and retained counsel fees from the very pot they'd stolen. That night, as the rain hammered the roof like God's own gavel, they sat me down in the living room that smelled of vanilla candles and desperation. Dad's face was a mask of paternal regret, the kind you see on infomercials for life insurance. "Genesis, honey, this is for your own good. You need to learn accountability. We're cutting you off, no more free ride." Mom chimed in, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that cost more than my high school diploma. "We've enabled you too long. Pack your things. There's a youth shelter in Tempe. They'll take you." I stared at the eviction notice, my hand steady as I folded it into my back pocket. 18 years of birthday barbecues, family vacations to Disneyland where Dad accidentally expensed the sweets, and now this, booted out like yesterday's takeout. The shock should have hit like a freight train, but all I felt was a cold, buzzing clarity. I'd been their scapegoat, their human shield. And the bank statements? Those digital ghosts in the cloud I'd hacked access to months ago? They were my Excalibur. "Okay," I said, voice flat as Arizona asphalt. No tears. No scene. Just a nod, a backpack slung over my shoulder, and the door clicking shut behind me like the safety on a loaded gun. The shelter was a squat brick building off the interstate, the kind where fluorescent lights buzz like angry hornets and the air tastes like bleach and broken promises. I claimed a top bunk in a dorm with 5 other girls, runaways, foster kids, one with a fresh tattoo of a barbed wire heart, who eyed me like I was fresh meat. "What did you do, princess?" asked a girl named Jax, her nails painted black as midnight. I shrugged, mumbling something about family drama, but inside, my mind was a war room. Step 1. Survival. The shelter had free Wi-Fi. Spotty, but serviceable. And I'd stash my laptop in the backpack's false bottom. Dad thought he was tech-savvy, changing passwords like underwear. But I'd backdoored the family router years ago. A trick I picked up from those late-night YouTube dives into ethical hacking that he dismissed as nerd crap. By dawn, I'd pulled the first batch of statements. Chase, Wells Fargo. That shady Cayman account routed through a Delaware shell corp. Pages of PDFs scrolled across my screen. Wire transfers to consulting fees that matched investor payouts. Mom's Amazon hauls time-stamped right after refunds hit the books. It wasn't just theft, it was a symphony of deceit, with me as the unwitting conductor. But here's the kicker, they'd used my social security number for the dummy accounts, the ones that funneled the dirty money. If the feds dug deep, I'd be the face on the wanted posters.
Not them.
Rage simmered low in my gut, not the explosive kind, but the slow burn that turns coal to diamond. I wasn't going to yell. Yelling was for losers who got caught.
No.
I'd let the numbers do the talking. First week out, I hustled. Day job at a Dollar General. Stocking shelves for minimum wage. Minimum dignity. Nights, I'd slip into the shelter's computer lab, cross-referencing transactions with public records. Turns out, Dad's schemes snared half the neighborhood. Pastor Ruiz from the megachurch down the block. The widow Hargrove who'd lost her nest egg. Their emails, forwarded to me in blind panic before the fallout, painted a picture of trust betrayed. Your father promised stability. Genesis 1 read. Now I'm selling my home, guilt twisted like a knife. But I shoved it down. This wasn't my sin, it was theirs. And I'd atone by dragging it into the light. By week 2, the plan crystallized. I'd compile a dossier, every statement, every email, time-stamped and notarized via a free legal aid app, and leak it anonymously. Not to the cops. That was too clean.
Too quick. No.
I'd drop it on the local news. The Phoenix Gazette. Maybe even that true crime podcast, Desert Deceptions, that loved suburban scandals. But timing was everything. Wait for the plea hearing. When Mom and Dad would be preening for the judge, spinning their yarn of reformed family values. Then boom. Let the headlines bury them. Isolation bred paranoia. Jax became an unlikely ally, spotting my all-nighters and slipping me extra protein bars from the cafeteria. You got that look, Jen, like you're plotting a heist. I laughed it off. But she wasn't wrong. Dreams haunted me, Dad's voice echoing family first, morphing into the wail of sirens. Waking up sweating. I'd check the balances, my college fund, drained to $47.12, loaned to the firm. That one hurt deepest. I'd aced my SATs dreaming of Stanford. Journalism track. Exposing crooks like the ones who'd raised me.
Now?
Community college if I was lucky. The third week brought the first crack in their facade. A burner phone pinged. Mom's number. Blocked on my real cell, but not this cheap track phone. Genesis.
Please.
This is killing us. Come home. We'll talk. Attached, a photo of my empty bedroom. Teddy bear on the bed like a hostage plea. I deleted it without replying, but doubt crept in. Was I the villain here, abandoning blood for spite? Dad's text followed. We love you. It's all a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding.
Right.
Like how they misunderstood the statute of limitations on elder fraud. I pushed harder, diving into the offshore logs. That's when I hit the motherlode, a transfer to an account in my name. $250,000. labeled Genesis Trust Fund. Except it wasn't a trust, it was bait. A slush fund to make me look complicit if cornered. And the signature? A scan of my yearbook photo, forged with Mom's graphic design software. My stomach dropped. They'd planned this. The eviction. From the jump.
Kick me out.
Let me fend alone. Then discover the funds and flip the script. Ungrateful daughter steals from her own family. It was Machiavellian. Pure dad, always 3 moves ahead. Until he met someone who'd studied the board. Revenge sharpened. I mirrored the files to an encrypted drive, then reached out to Hargrove anonymously via a Proton mail. I know what they did.
Proof attached.
Use it. Her reply came swift. God bless you.
Child.
I'll talk to the DA. Ripples started, whispers at the shelter about a big bust brewing. Jax overheard. Your folks on the news yet? I played dumb. But the tension coiled tighter. By month's end, the hearing loomed. I scored a bus ticket to the courthouse, blending into the gallery like a ghost. There they were, Dad in his best suit, Mom with pearl earrings that screamed innocence. The judge droned about youthful errors, my rehabilitation plan. I sat silent, heart pounding, thumb hovering over the send button on my phone. One email blast to the Gazette, the DA, every victim on the list, and their house of cards crumbled. But as Dad took the stand, voice cracking with rehearsed remorse, my daughter. She strayed, but we're healing as a family, something snapped. Not rage, but a twisted pity. They'd built this lie so deep. They believed it. I hit send. The courtroom Wi-Fi was shit, but the confirmation pinged. Files en route. Chaos erupted 20 minutes later. Phones buzzed. The bailiff's radio crackled with breaking development. The judge halted proceedings as reporters swarmed the hall. Mom's face drained white. Dad's eyes locked on the back row, finding me for the first time. Recognition dawned. Then horror. Genesis, he mouthed. I met his gaze, unblinking, and mouthed back, happy birthday to me. The fallout hit like a monsoon flash flood, sweeping through Phoenix's dry veins and leaving mudslides of scandal in its wake. By evening, the Gazette's headline screamed, Suburban Scion Sham, Teen Exposes Parents' $2 million Ponzi Plot, with my blurred silhouette in the byline, anonymous source. But everyone at the shelter knew. Jax high-fived me over lukewarm ramen. You're a legend.
Jen.
Straight up Bonnie without the Clyde. I forced a grin, but sleep evaded me that night. The bunk's thin mattress, no match for the ghosts replaying Dad's betrayed stare. Morning brought the wolves to my door, figuratively, since the shelter had a no-media policy stricter than airport security. A social worker named Carla pulled me aside, her clipboard a shield. Genesis. Honey, this is serious. You've got options. Protective custody. Witness relocation. Options. The word tasted like ash. I'd traded one cage for another. From gilded family bars to the state's foster limbo. But relocation? Tempting. A fresh start in Seattle or Portland. Rain-soaked streets where no one knew my name or my sins. First, though, loose ends. The victim support group formed overnight. A ragtag assembly in a community center off Camelback Road, Hargrove with her walker. Pastor Ruiz clutching a Bible like a life raft. I attended incognito. Hoodie up. But Hargrove spotted me in the circle. It was you, wasn't it? The email angel. Nods rippled, hands clasped mine in a chain of gratitude that felt heavier than any chain. You saved us. Child, Ruiz intoned.
Saved?
I'd enabled it for 2 years. My stamps on those falsified forms as damning as theirs. Guilt gnawed. But I swallowed it. They used me, I admitted. Voice low. Made me the fall guy.
This
Evens the score. Word spread. And with it, complications. Dad's lawyer, a sleazy ambulance chaser named Harlan, tried the back-channel route, cornering me outside the center with a manila envelope thick as a bribe. Your parents want reconciliation. Genesis. 50 grand.
cash.
For your testimony. Say it was a prank. Teenage rebellion. I laughed. Sharp and brittle. Tell them to wire it to the victim's fund. He blinked. Then sneered. Ingrate. You'll rot in juvie for this.
Juvie?
At 18, it was county lockup. And with my forged cigs. Yeah, maybe. But the statements I'd leaked painted me clean victim. Not perp. Harlan slunk away, but his threat lingered like smog. Mom's approach was subtler. A letter slipped under the shelter door, scented with her Chanel No.
5.
My dearest Genesis, we were wrong to push you out. It was fear, not anger. Come home, therapy, family counseling. We can fix this together. Therapy. The word mocked me. We'd tried it once. After Dad's business trips left bruises on Mom's arms that she blamed on clumsiness. The shrink called it dynamics, but I knew. Control. Always control. I burned the letter in the shelter's communal sink, watching the flames curl her elegant script to ash. Fix this?
No.
I dismantle it brick by embezzled brick. The DA's office called next. A harried assistant prosecutor named Lena Vasquez with a voice like gravel and empathy. Kid, you're a gold mine. Walk us through it, and we'll bury them. We met in a coffee shop off Central Avenue, her treating to lattes that steamed like my unresolved fury. I spilled the internships, the ledgers, the birthday boot. Lena's pen flew, but her eyes narrowed at the trust fund reveal. They set you up good. That's attempted fraud on a minor. Irony's a bitch. By session's end, I had immunity sketched out.
Contingent on testifying. Testify.
Facing them in court, under oath, their eyes boring into mine. The thought thrilled and terrified, a cocktail of vindication and vertigo. Life accelerated into a blur of depositions and dead drops. Jax and I pooled tips for a shared apartment, a dingy one-bedroom in a complex called Desert Rose. Ironic as hell with its cracked stucco and roaches the size of quarters. Our fortress, she dubbed it, spray painting a mural of thorny vines on the wall. Stability, fragile as it was. Let me breathe. I enrolled online at ASU. Intro to Criminology. Devouring texts on white-collar crime that read like my biography. Professors emailed encouragement. Your perspective is invaluable. Perspective. If only they knew the half. But cracks formed. A late-night call from an unknown number, Dad. Voice slurred with bourbon. You think you're smart. Genesis? Ruining us for what? Some liberal wet dream of justice. Static crackled. Was he tracing the line? We gave you everything. Roof.
Food.
That fancy laptop you're using to stab us in the back.
Stab.
The word hung, evoking the kitchen knife I'd once seen him wield during an argument, blade glinting as Mom cowered. You are nothing without us, he hissed. I hung up, blocking the number, but his venom seeped in. Was he right? Had I been complicit? A willing pawn in their game? The twist came mid-deposition. Lena's office reeking of stale takeout. She slid a folder across the desk. Read this. Inside. Bank logs I'd missed. Transfers from the Ponzi pot not to Dad's slush, but to a charity account in my name. Genesis's future fund, it read. $100,000 earmarked for education. Mom's notes. For our girl. When she's ready. My throat closed. A ploy? Insurance against backlash. Painting them as benevolent? Or genuine? A sliver of redemption in their rot? Lena shrugged. Jury'll decide. But it muddies the waters, makes you look like the ungrateful one. Doubt festered. Jax noticed. During one of our porch smokes under the sodium lamps. Second thoughts. Jen, I confess the fund. The letter. Dad's call. She stubbed her cig, eyes fierce. Don't buy the sob story. They birthed the monster. You just named it. Wise words from a girl who'd firebombed her stepdad's truck. Still, I delayed the full testimony, digging deeper. More logs. The fund dated pre-scheme collapse. Mom's solo transfers during Dad's benders. A secret safety net. Her hedge against his demons. The arraignment loomed. A circus of cameras and chants. Justice for the fleeced. Outside the marbled halls. I slipped in early. Heart hammering. There. In the defendant's box. Mom caught my eye. Not defiance, but despair, hollow cheeks, hands trembling on the rail. Dad, stone-faced, whispering to Harlan. As charges read, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, his gaze slid to me, not with hate, but calculation. What game now? Post-hearing. A courier delivered a USB. Watch alone. Anonymous. Footage. Grainy cell cam. Dad in holding. Ranting to a guard. That bitch daughter of mine. She's the brains. Set it all up to frame us. Check her laptop. Lies. Venomous and viral. If it leaked, I'd be the villain. Ponzi princess turned Patsy Avenger. Panic surged. I smashed the drive under my boot. Shards scattering like my resolve. That night, in Desert Rose, I broke. Jax held me as sobs racked. 18 years of love laced with poison. Trust twisted to treason. What if they're right? What if I am the monster? She rocked me. Monsters don't cry.
Jen.
They just roar. Dawn brought clarity. Testify. Full throttle. Let the fund humanize them, but not absolve. Justice wasn't black and white. It was the gray grind of truth. Trial week descended like a hubbub, dust-choked and disorienting. The courthouse a coliseum where gladiators wore ties instead of togas. Phoenix sweltered under a 110-degree sky. But inside, the AC hummed cold as the lies we'd all swallow. I prepped with Lena daily, mock cross-exams where Harlan's stand-in grilled me. Isn't it true?
Yes. Hail.
That you benefited from these investments? That trust fund screaming your name. I'd counter-study. It was bait. Bait to buy my silence. But doubt whispered. What if the jury saw a spoiled brat? Not a survivor? Opening arguments set the tone. Prosecution painting mom and dad as wolves in sheep's clothing. Defense countering with family implosion. Me as the catalyst. A daughter's betrayal, Harlan boomed. Born of resentment over discipline. Discipline. Their word for the boot on my birthday. Reporters swarmed post-day one. I dodged them en route to Desert Rose. Jax's tacos waiting like a talisman. You're doing this for the Hargroves. The Ruizes, not them, she reminded. True. But as victims testified, tears for lost homes, shattered retirements, guilt amplified. I'd stamped those checks, laughed at their naivety. Complicit? Hell yes. But coerced? That was the razor wire I walked. My turn came Friday. The stand, a wooden guillotine under fluorescent glare. Oath sworn. I scanned the room, Mom dabbing eyes, Dad's jaw set like granite. MS. Hail, Lena began. Walk us through the scheme. Voice even. I did. Internship horrors. Forged docs. The birthday ambush. Gasps rippled. A juror. A middle-aged dad type. Nodded empathy. Then Harlan rose. Shark grin. You accessed private accounts without permission. Correct? Hacked your parents' systems. Trap. I had admin rights. I parried. From years of helping. He pivoted. And that trust fund? Over 100,000, didn't you know? Photos projected. My name in bold. Murmurs swelled. Mom set it up, I admitted. But it was part of the cover, insurance. Harlan pounced. Or love. A mother's provision for her future? Objection overruled. The fund hung like a noose. Mom's sob echoed, real or theater. I faltered, eyes locking on hers. In that beat, memory flashed, her midnight confessions, Dad's rages, her whispers. Protect yourself.
Jen.
Always. Had she been the architect, shielding me from his abyss? Cross-dragged, Harlan unearthed emails, me joking, we're printing money to friends. Context lost. It painted greed. You profited.
Didn't you? He sneered.
New laptop. Designer jeans.
Petty.
But it stung, the jury shifted, eyes narrowing. Lena's redirect salvaged, statements proving my SS misuse. The eviction as set up. Closing. She thundered. Genesis Hale didn't steal, she survived. Her parents? They devoured their own. Deliberations stretched 2 days. A purgatory of what-ifs. Jax and I holed up, binging bad TV. Her hand in mine a lifeline. Whatever happens, you're free, she said.
Free.
The word echoed hollow. Dad's jail call leaked via a guard's gossip. She'll pay. Mark my words, but threats rang empty now. Verdict dropped Monday. Courtroom thick as a funeral parlor. Guilty both. On all counts. Mom. 10 years. Eligible parole in 5. Dad. 15. No mercy. Cheers from the gallery. Hargroves wept joy. But as cuffs clicked, Mom twisted toward me, mouthing, I'm sorry through tears. Sorry for the scheme? The boot? Or the fund? That tainted olive branch? Dad? Nothing but a glare. Promising vendetta from bars. Outside. Media frenzy. Daughter's revenge. Justice or vendetta? Pundit split. Fox called me ungrateful viper. CNN, hero whistleblower. Social media erupted. Genesis Gate trending with memes of me as avenging angel or prodigal snake. Supporters wired donations enough for a community college. Maybe more. Victims hugged me in the lot. You gave us our lives back.
But the twist?
Weeks later. A letter from Mom's cell. Postmarked Ironwood State Prison. No pleas. Just facts. The fund was hers. Skimmed pre-collapse. Hidden from Dad. I did it for you. Jen, not cover. But escape. When he turned monster, I built your wings. Forgive?
No.
Understand? Maybe. Enclosed. Account access. $100,000 intact. Legal now. Untainted. I stared at the desert horizon from Desert Rose's balcony. Jack's beside me. Cash meant Stanford dreams revived. A life unyoked. But understanding? It fractured the revenge, Mom. Not pure villain, but flawed architect of my freedom.
Dad?
Irredeemable. His glare's fuel for my fire. Was I hero? Villain? Or just the scar they left? The jury'd split on that. Same as me. I cashed the fund, donated half to victims, kept the rest for tuition. First class. Ethics in journalism. Irony? Potent as mezcal. Birthday came again, 19 now, in a campus dive bar. Jack's toasting to burning bridges and building bombs. I raised my glass, tasting ash and absinthe. Revenge wasn't catharsis, it was excavation. Unearthing bones we'd all buried. They rotted in cells. I walked free, but haunted. In America, justice is a mirror, cracked, reflecting monsters in us all. And if Dad's whispers from prison ever surfaced, I'd have statements ready. Always.